Hi, welcome back to the channel. This week we're going to create a perky kind of lead. And by that I mean something that's in between a lead and a percussion. And it's going to sit in this area of the track here. So let's give a bit of context. Let's play this bit first. I won't play it all or maybe stop halfway through. So you get the picture. Basically it needs something in this area. I don't want the leads to come in yet, because as you can see the leads drop at this bit here at bar 161, and this is just after the break. So the break is in this section here. So we're going to go from the break into this percussive kind of lead, and then into the main FM leads. So let's get started then first. Let's open up our trusty Serum. Now the reason for using Serum is because I find it quite easy to demonstrate. I think it's quite easy to follow along. But nothing I'm showing in this video isn't possible with most synths really. Other than the waveforms I guess, but you can always use different ones and they get different sounds. Conceptually though, it's possible on most synths. Now like I say all the time, before designing any sound, think about it in your head. What are you trying to achieve? It's very easy to get distracted. Because if you look at this, if you look at Serum, there are hundreds of parameters to manipulate, and it's very easy to get distracted and to get lost if you don't have a very clear vision of what you're trying to achieve in the sound. Now that's not to say other sound design sessions you can just go in and just twiddle knobs randomly and come up with awesome sounds. That's a perfectly valid technique also. But if you have something specific in mind, think about it very clearly in your head, how you'll go about getting that sound. So with that said, what are we trying to achieve? We're trying to achieve a percussive sound. Well, we know a percussive sound needs to have some pitch modulation. Because we've created kick drums before, we've created snares, we know that we always manipulate pitch. So let's do that first. We'll leave envelope 1 alone because that will be our main amplitude envelope. So instead, let's go to LFO 2, attach it to coarse pitch, turn down the sustain, like so, and then we'll go up to the mod matrix and we want to ensure this is on unipolar. On my default patch, I have reverb and delay already on. Let's take them off because they'll get distracting. Bit shorter, let's go, I don't know, 38. We can zoom in a bit. Now let's go over to envelope 1 and we will adjust the sustain. So sustain all the way down, and we want it very plucky. So basically, even with that, we've already got the basis of a percussive kind of sound. Now let's go up, we'll give it some more voices. Let's go, I like to use odd numbers because then we have one voice remaining in the middle. So if you can see there, the yellow one stays in the middle. And then we'll turn the random up as well. I may come back and adjust it, but for now, let's leave it like that. Now the next thing I'm going to do, let's go over to our effects. Usually I do this at the end, but I'm feeling motivated to do it now. And we will go up to pan and then mod source, note on random 1. So now we have the auto pan left and right. Let's go back to our matrix. Let's put this on 48 semitones. And then we'll attach a macro to that also, because I'm not quite sure about the depth of that modulation yet. So rather than come back and modulate it here, we'll attach a macro to auxiliary source. And now when I press a key and the macro was down at 0, you can hear that there's no pitch modulation. But when I turn it up, we have our modulation. Or if I put it in the middle, then we're basically at 24 semitones and 12 and 36, so on and so forth. So essentially that's just a variable pitch modulation. So we'll call this pitch attack. And thinking once again to what we usually have in our percussive elements, we usually have a noise layer. That one's sounding quite good. Let's also attach envelope 2 to this pitch as well. Right click and enable pitch tracking. Let's come over here and we will do unipolar And we're also going to attach macro 1 to that also. And then once again, we'll put it on 48 semitones so it's in line with oscillator A. Let's go down Juno 106 noise I quite like. Let's leave it at the microcorg noise. So it's working where it was, but I quite like it lower just to give it a bit more thump. So let's go down 48 semitones. And currently the level's too high. I want that to have an attack element as well. So let's go and attach envelope 3 to that also. We'll turn that down, sustain down, and we'll make this very, very short. There we go, I think that's about right. So now we have the basic percussive element, but I think it needs a bit more character in the wavetables. So let's turn on oscillator B, we'll turn the amplitude of that down. And now that I've done that, I'm sure you know where we're going. And that is FM from B. So you can hear, even though we've done that, it still retains that percussive nature. And it's exactly where we want. It's right in the middle of a percussive type sound and a lead. So we're getting there, we're making progress. We'll turn down the phase randomization on B. And then we'll go through some wavetables. So, and here there's no right answers. Basically just experiment until you find one that you like, essentially. So that's sounding good with the sign there. Let's choose something similar, but with a bit more character, if that makes sense. So we want to go something like, I think it's these FFT ones. So as you can hear, it's very, very plucky, very, very percussive, which is obviously what we want. But I also want a bit of variation in that. Like I keep on saying, I want it to really sit between a percussive sound and a lead. So for sustain, let's go and do mod source, and here we will do note on random 2 because we've already used 1. And essentially every time we press a key now, that is fluctuating between fully on, so maximum sustain, and minimum sustain. So it's holding out the note or making it very, very plucky. There is quite a lot of low end that I don't like, so let's go and put a EQ on. And it's also very, very buzzy up top. So let's add a filter. Let's put that before utility. And while we're here, we'll also put utility right at the end. And let's maybe choose a bandpass. Resonance, drive up. And in fact, let's do one of these multi low band high. Turn morph to 50, so it's exactly a bandpass. And then on here, let's do mod source velocity. And on morph mod source velocity also. So essentially, the harder I press the key now, the more it's going to sweep up the cutoff, and the more it's going to increase the morph to move this into a high pass, like so. And honestly, I think that sounds pretty gnarly. Maybe a bit of FM down a little bit. Right, so off camera, I've just drawn in some MIDI. I didn't want to bore you with that. We'll just have a little bit of a look at it, just so you can see. Essentially, we just have a few little random notes. Well, they're not really random, I've placed them in. And also changes in velocity. And like we saw in the preset creation, that will drive the sustain. So let's have a listen to just this little bit of a snippet. The patch itself is unchanged. As you can see here, if you want to take screenshots of this to copy it. So like I said, the only thing I've done is draw in this MIDI and then send it to the sends for the reverb and the delay. So let's have a listen to how this sounds. And then with our kick and bass, we'll start it from here and we'll see how far we get. Let's have a listen and see if this fits with the track. So there we go, a percussive lead in Serum. Just to reiterate what I said at the beginning, I often get questions from beginners who open up a synth like Serum and get absolutely overwhelmed by the sheer number of parameters. And what I say to that is, start simple, conceptualize the sound in your head, what you're trying to achieve, and then once you get the fundamentals, like we did with this one, with getting the percussive nature of it down, then just go wild and experiment with different wavetables and additional effects and things like that. But make sure you get the fundamentals right for the patch first. And like I said, I recommend doing them even before you open the synth. I find it's much easier to conceptualize in your head without this decision paralysis in front of you. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you found it useful. And I'll be back next week with something else. We'll see you then. Bye.